This is my M-City project that we've been working on for a little bit, building up a modern futuristic city. And one thing that every city needs is a good sports team. This got me thinking, and I ended up deciding on wanting to build a basketball stadium. Now, given that my city is kind of modeled after New York City, I decided to look at the Madison Square Garden design of the stadium that is in the real New York City and model my stadium after that. So the first thing was to do some initial research and figure out how I'm actually gonna do this. It's like a cylinder, but there's like squares. You see these like rectangles? This inside looks... oh, that looks a little difficult. After getting a look at a couple of the references, I decided that the best way to go about this is to break it down into smaller pieces. To first start off with the overall cylinder shape. To then do the other squares that I was talking about, it's kind of like a bigger cylinder, which I'm gonna cut a bunch of lines into to create little rectangle pieces that still form the circular curves. Next, I added some lights on the side because I want to make sure that this building looks nice at nighttime, especially now that I play on Java. We have some really nice shaders that we can use. To make sure that the stadium wasn't just a circle, I wanted to do some more building extrusions on a couple of the sides to make way for the entrances and stairwells to get into the stadium. And then came the roof. I wanted to make kind of like a circular trough design, which is kind of how the real building looks as well. So we have like the center circle, and then we have like a lower ring where they both are created slopes between the center circle, the middle ring, and the outer edge. All right, keep existing. Ooh. Wait a minute, I'm cooking. I'm actually cooking. The method that I used to make these smooth circular transitions was kind of using a bit of masking, as well as using a sphere to kind of fit within the mask. It did need a little bit of touch up here and there, but overall it worked really well. Next up was the interior. So I started by looking at this image and kind of looking at the ceiling there and how it had like a bunch of vertical trusses all going around the stadium to support the ceiling and the big jumbotron in the middle. I found out my distancing that I wanted of each of the line segments, and I used a pathing tool from Axiom to create the nice lines to go from the edges to the center. Then I wanted to add some more supporting rings along the circle to offer a little more block contrast and variance on possible blocks that I could use later to sub in for the wool. Just to note that the reason that I'm using different colored wool when I'm designing a build is it makes it helpful to not only swap out the blocks later, but also just get a generic glimpse at what the shape of what I'm building is actually going to look like. Then I got started on figuring out some of the more fine details of the interior, like the jumbotron and the court, because that's what we're going to really be basing everything else off of. Be like, ooh, ankles. Then I would jump it up, 360, dunk slam. With the actual basketball court in place came one of the most difficult parts of the design process, which was figuring out how to do the seating, going from a 4-sided court to a infinitely sided circle up at the circular walkway that goes around the stadium. I finally ended up on a method where I kind of just extended it diagonally, and then when I met the circular wall, I kind of just extended a vertical wall downward, which was pretty hard to figure out, but once I actually had got it done, it was very nice. I also started working on the tunnels for each of the teams. Each team kind of has like a tunnel that they run out of to get ready for the game, and the tunnel also leads to their locker room as well. One thing that a lot of people in the chat were bringing up while I was designing this was that there should be some like VIP suites, which are kind of, I guess, more expensive than the regular seats where you get like a whole room to yourself. So I figured that I would implement kind of these VIP suites, which are like a level higher, where you have a couple tables in there where you can have food for your whole party of people and some drinks and things like that. By this point, my stadium template was looking very, very colorful, and I think I was about ready to go ahead and start putting the actual blocks in and figuring out what blocks should go where from the block palette that I have for M-City. Ooh. Kinda tough. Why is the court so shiny? Oh my god. Kind of freak with that. I kind of freak with that. I slowly made my way through selecting each of the different wool colors to try out different blocks that I think would look nice on the inside. And one big thing to keep in mind while doing this was how I was going to light up the place. Lighting on Java Edition is kind of weird coming from a Bedrock player. I feel like it's just everything is super dark unnecessarily, so I literally had to shower the inside with frog lights to make sure that I could actually see something. And now was the next step, where I had finished my design and it was time to get the resources in survival. This was actually a very long process that took like several days, trading with villagers for quartz, building a concrete converter farm that made me want to explode. I don't know. Every factor is the same, and it doesn't work. And collecting much other resources like moss and dye and things like that. All right, let's check our final resource. Oh yeah, 5,500 moss carpet. So if we go ahead and check our Discord list, that is the final resource to check off the list. With the moss carpet complete, and that is 125,000 items ready to start building. And just like that, I had my area all scoped out on where I wanted to build, so it was just time to get my beacons ready, to get my music playing, and get my 125,000 blocks all placed down. And that is our full stadium built and complete. I just want to thank you all for watching this video and making it to the end. Make sure you guys leave any comments of ideas that you might have for future additions to M City. And with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!